Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where you are living. So, can somebody on the call confirm that you are hearing me, please? Hi, welcome to the session. So, I'm waiting for the people to join the room. Hi, DG, thank you very much for coming. So, morning everyone. Perfect. Yeah, I'm waiting for a couple of minutes before we get started. So perfect. Hi Adela. Hi Judith. Hi James. Perfect. Amazing. So good morning for everyone, or good afternoon, good night, depending on where you are joining us today. Perfect. So I still wait for a bit because there are a lot of registrants to the session. So I ensure that before we deep dive into the subject, enough people will join the room. Perfect. Welcome Joe, welcome Nana, welcome Telman. Great. Amazing. So I expect your likes and loves to this video so we can spread it to a larger audience possible. So please support the work we are doing and thumbs up and your lives, your loves to this video, please. Maybe 2 more minutes and then I get started. So in the meanwhile, among you guys, how many of you have joined a session with me in the past, or is this your first session? Please feel free to type in the comment box, please. So I see some familiar names, but there are also a lot of new people among you, which is also quite nice. First session. Okay, wonderful. Welcome, Telman. I hope you will enjoy today. We will cover quite a lot. Najib also first session. Perfect. Joe first session. Oh, Shastat attended previous session. Great. Thank you very much for joining again. Shastat, I also remember you personally. Great. Okay, a lot of people also first time join us. Wonderful. I think people keep on joining, but I don't want to be unfair to the ones who joined on time, so I'm going to get quickly started. Maybe before we deep dive to the subject, a bit of background about me and what I do, and obviously why I do what I do. So my name is Erkan Sutculer, for the ones who haven't met with me before in the past. I am 43 years old, so a lot of, back years behind me, obviously. And I studied computer engineering. I have my bachelor and master in the computer science. And I made a long corporate career since, I guess, 2015. I am no longer working as an employee, but I have my own company where I teach professionals and individuals different quality improvement and also collaboration processes such as Scrum, Six Sigma, project management, a bit of software testing, and many other soft and hard skills such as negotiation, coaching, etc. And during my career, before I did this, my last salary job was senior manager by Accenture. And over there, basically, I also oversaw the Accenture's digital delivery workforce in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. And I help companies basically to basically do these transformations on their own businesses Then early 2010, I had an idea popped up, and I thought, why don't do this to a large audience instead of doing a handful of corporations? And therefore, I decided doing basically a side project about 2010, and then this became really a huge thing in a short while, because about 2010, this type of video trainings, etc., no one, had been doing this, but I was one of the, first people, who jumped in front of the camera with the trainings, books and audiobooks and video trainings, and also, live trainings, like we are doing today. And therefore, this business, became really huge, and this is what we have been doing, full time for the time being. So today we have an interesting agenda, but before we deep dive into the agenda, I have to give some clues how we are going to operate today. Kind of set the rules of the game. It's quite easy. For me, this is a interactive session. Okay, I of course have some planned agenda in front of me, which I prepared for you to serve you as best as I can. But on the other hand, I want this session to be as interactive as this possible. Therefore, while we are going to progress, I'm going to pose you questions and try to answer these questions as quickly as you can, so we can move on to the next thing. And also your questions and your feedback will give me some feeling about how you are grasping the subjects, and then therefore I can also customize my own speech, my own presentation based on your own questions. When I see there are a lot of questions in a certain area, then maybe I can feel that okay, I can maybe talk more on this area, and then also I can also ensure that I also cover everything you need to know about this area. So, this session is fully for you. On this agenda, basically I will cover the old way of doing projects, the matrix kind of organizations, and the problems the matrix organizations are going to pose. This is the first thing that we are going to cover. Then I'm going to explain you a typical project phase in a matrix organization, and then how we can convert this to a different type of modus operandi by iterative business or project delivery processes. And then we'll deep dive about our new opportunity, so which is basically the Scrum process. And then over there, I will also give you more details about how to basically run a Scrum project from A to Z, and then we will cover the end-to-end life cycle of a project together with you. But after this point is very unique. Maybe what I said so far is not unique for you, because most of the people are talking about this. But here, what will be interesting is in the second half of the presentation, I'm going to talk about things that none of the trainers in the market is talking about, and for me, this would be probably the second time that I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk more about cultural aspects of running an agile organization, and how you can also position yourself as a guide, as a coach of your organization. Because if you ask me, for instance, how you feel, when you talk about in front of, audiences, it's always, exciting. But on the other hand, this is something also you need to learn, because by talking, effectively in front of audiences with self-confidence, you are going to basically help them to understand the point of what you are trying to do. And this is the way, you will cultivate a new culture, a new way of thinking, and then this culture will help you in the transformation. And this is the second thing that we are going to talk about in the second part of this session. And then, over the years, most of the questions, after the trainings are, all around, Erkan, all of them is very good. This information is sensible, but how I can do this? Because of the lack of, maybe a bit of self-confidence or a bit of, experience, people also, have a bit of tension, how they will implement this. And then I will give you a step-by-step, recipe, how you can, establish yourself as an expert or as a guide, not only, in the subject matter area, which is Scrum that we are talking about, but anything you can do in your, professional life. I'm going to explain you a method that you have probably seen nowhere else, which is going to help you to establish yourself as a guide, maybe in your organization, in your community, in whatever you want to do. And then I'm going to give you also in the next steps maybe an offer, how you can also continue learning via our programs. I'm going to give you a very interesting and also very affordable offer with a lot of training materials, certifications, videos, audiobooks, and ebooks and everything else. So, any questions so far about the rule of the game? If you have any questions, I will be happy to cover, and otherwise I'm going to jump into my first my own way of slides. Ulari, welcome from joining us from London. I also remember you very well, Ulari. Thank you very much for joining again. I think you have been so far in all of the sessions we were doing in the masterclass, right? Wonderful. Hi Subhashini, hi Lavlin, wonderful. Lavlin, I think you are one of our latest students. Am I correct? Also in the Scrum Institute, if I'm not missing. Nana's first time, Veronica's first time. Veronica Peter, thank you very much for joining. Amar from Ghana, greetings to Ghana, and Mojiradi's first time, wonderful. And from Kent, Lucius, welcome, great. Also Cynthia's first time, wonderful. So Najib, the session will be recorded, but it will be available for only short time on this Facebook private channel. Wow, Didi joined from Texas. It must be quite early morning over there. Perfect. Okie dokie, let's move on to the next slide. From your questions and interactions, I feel that the voice and audio quality is okay, right? If there is any issue, please let me know, and then I can try to rectify this. Great. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is, this is how the majority of the Fortune 500 companies operating. I would say 19 out of 20 companies are operating that way. So there is basically a matrix organization, which is basically optimized for costs, okay? In this organization, there is a leader, which you can call, we are going to talk about the IT organization here, but one thing that I forgot saying, everything that we are going to talk today is not specific to IT or technology. So basically, this is a overall, we are going to talk about, running projects or kind of, running work. You even don't have to call it a project, Anywhere where you deliver anything to someone else, you can use everything that we are going to talk about today. This can be a healthcare industry, it can be education industry or IT technology industry, finance, whatever you can, think of, everything that we are going to talk about today apply. And therefore, don't think that what we are talking about is here, about technology. And if you are not a programmer or technologist, you may feel that, oh, this is not for me, I'm disadvantaged here. No, it's not like that. Everything that we are, covering today is for everyone. But here in this, particular example, I choose, as chief, information officer, and then I'm going to give the example on the IT industry, but everything applies on everywhere as well. Exactly, Zakaria, it's anywhere that we deliver value to someone else, everything that we are talking basically apply. So we have a CIO, or let's say boss, and then we have a PMO, this is project management office. And then under CIO, there are basically kind of different organizations, business, analysis, architecture, design, development, QA, operations, and then security, user experience, user interactions, infrastructure, applications, and a number of project managers. And these are basically hanging under their own silos. Here there are the business analysis guys. Here there are the security guys. There are basically here architectures and the developers and then the QA testers. And these organizations, most of the time even more complex than that, because let's say if you have an infrastructure team here they basically interact with, you know, architects, with designers, with developers, and QA. You know, QA by itself, you know, is another, you know, world, because, you know, when you call QA, you know, you have different type of QAs, right? You have unit testing, you have integration testing, user experience testing, performance testing, you know, penetration testing and everything. You know, here I made, you know, small, you know, bunch of people, but under QA, you know, you have different, you know, branches. But when it comes to building a project, let's say I'm a business owner and I need a project to run. And then what's happening is then a select number of people from each of this group will be assigned to my project, you know. This, you know, from different silos, I picked up these different people, and then they run my project. Guess what? So basically these people, you know, coming from different silos, and their organization basically is responsible from doing their own work, but they are not accountable, you know, for my project. And as soon as the project finishes, they, you know, walk away and then turn back to their own silos. And then guess what? What's happening if there is a problem on my project? Then I call people from the development. Hey, there is a bug over here, another bug over here. There is a feature, you know, request, a change request. And then guess what? They are no longer available. You know, these people, you know, simply moved to another project. And then they give someone else, you know, from the silo, let's say from this development team. Originally, let's say I have been working with that person, but now he's allocated to another project, and then someone else who has no clue about my project is assigned to me. And then, you know, I was going to, you know, run my, you know, next level of my project, or trying to fix, you know, the bugs in my application with someone who is even not familiar with the work that I was doing. And therefore, basically, this is a big problem in the matrix organization. And whereas, you know, it's supposed to, you know, optimize the cost, it's not obviously optimized for quality. It's not optimized basically collaboration. It's not optimized basically for speed, you know, most importantly, because in today's world, you know, where everything is happening, you know, in the speed of light, you can't basically, you know, spend months and months and months in a project and then hope that it will work. You know, you need to basically enable something, you know, very small, put it in front of the audience, you know, this can be the external customer or internal customer, put it in front of them, and then, you know, get as quick feedback as is possible. Therefore, any kind of organization which is not organized for speed today will sooner or later fail, because the business will fail, okay? Even if they do, you know, quality work. But with experience, I can tell you that this matrix organization is not optimized for anything. It's supposed to optimize for cost, but usually they're also, you know, exceeding their cost, you know, estimations, because, you know, once people, you know, switch over from one project to another, you know, all this context switch among, you know, different, you know, elements of this, you know, various channels cause basically a lot of, you know, rework, okay? Because the developer, you know, originally coded something else, but then someone else comes and then they have difficulty to understand what is going on. And then this overhead basically increases the costs quite a lot. Now, what is the alternative about this? By the way, if you are basically trading to, you know, major organizations in Nasdaq or somewhere else, this is the type of organizations that you are trading, okay? And therefore, be very careful. This is where you are investing your money in, okay? Therefore, you know, be you know, aware of what is going on over there. Now, what is the alternative? You know, this area that I'm going to talk about also, you know, goes to the boundaries of DevOps, but it really doesn't matter. This gives you an idea, you know, how, you know, the next level of collaboration works in various kind of organizations. The other kind of, you know, way of doing our work is, you know, for the matrix we say it optimized for cost, correct? Now, for the other type of organization that I'm giving its alternative for you, this is optimized for speed, okay, quality, and cost, obviously. Now we talked about a project, right? Because in matrix organization, what we care is a project, okay? These people, you know, came together, attempted to deliver a project, okay? But in a optimized for speed, cost, and quality organization, you no longer have projects, okay? Projects don't mean much over there. But what you have is products, okay? This is also a shift that you need to slowly understand. It doesn't matter whatever you do. You can be a company owner, you can be a developer, tester, you can be, I don't know, a project manager, business analyst. Whatever you do, when it comes to agile, Scrum, or DevOps, okay, don't think about as projects terms, okay? Think about always product terms, okay? Because nobody cares about a project, okay? If I am the client of your company, what kind of projects you do basically can't, interest me any less. But what I'm interested in is, what kind of products, what kind of services, or as Zakaria very well pointed out, what kind of value, you deliver to me, okay? And therefore, instead of projects, now in as optimized for speed, quality, and cost organization, you think about in terms of products, and then here you have product teams, okay? And in the product teams, you have basically bring a number of people together, okay? And this number of people build a team, and they are self-sufficient from A to Z in a project, okay? We are going to talk about this A to Z, okay? Here we are building only the foundation with you. And here, you have a developer, let's say, you have a designer, and maybe let's open another color. You have, let's say, architect, and here an architect, and here an architect, maybe another one. And here you have a let's say, user interface designer, a security expert, and another security expert, another security expert. And here you have a QA person, here you have a designer, and here, I don't know, here you have a operations specialist, a database admin, a network specialist. So here basically you are bringing people together to build the product teams, right? Let's say here you have a project manager maybe, and then here you have a designer and architect. You see, if you think this, different kind of silos in terms of, colors, okay, blue, red, or green, or black, whatever. Now you build product teams, and each product team consists of people from all different colors, okay? And this product team, as I said, it's self-organized, self-sufficient, and they are able to deliver a project from A to Z. And it's, again, I want to underline this point one more time. Please think about, in terms of project, but think in terms of products, okay? Now, these people are self-sufficient, but in every organization, we know that there are services that are used by, that are used and shared by many different, product teams, okay? Let's say, if you run an IT organization, you know that you need databases, you know that you need servers, right? You know that you need a networking infrastructure. Now, because of this, requirement that each and every one of team, requires, okay? Each and every one of team requires, we build a platform team, okay? A platform team. In this platform team, basically building the, the components, let's say a database, a server maybe, let's make a server rack here, or maybe a networking infrastructure, okay, that are shared, among, all this kind of project teams. And the best example of this is how Google operates since almost 1 decade. The way, Google operates is, you have different kind of, silos, okay, specialized on the products, and then they basically not only design and develop the products, this is a very important point to understand, not only design and develop the product, they also execute the product, okay? This is a very different, thing from a, traditional thinking. These people, build and then run the product and then execute it, and then when they run, obviously, with the real, users, the last part of the chart is, by the way, users, with real users, they basically get feedback if it is working, if it is not working, if it is good enough, what is the feedback coming from them. And then for 6 months, okay, for 6 months, they run the product on their own, okay? They basically fine-tune it, improve it for 6 months. And then if, the product fulfills a long list of checklists, then Google's site reliability engineers, okay, take over this project. And then this became one of the products in the West, Google, product tool. If you ever seen, job advertisement from Google, what site reliability engineers do, they basically ensure that the products developed by the product teams, fulfill a long, list of, checklist in terms of, quality, in terms of performance metrics, in terms of, what are the open backs, what are the, open customer requests, what is the client feedback, and then if the criteria are fulfilled, then they accept the product and then take over and then run in their own platform. But until all this fulfilled, they expect the product teams run their own products for 6 months. Now, please take a moment and compare this kind of self sufficiency, self-organization, and also accountability with the way a matrix organization operates. Okay, what happens in the matrix organization? People come here, build something, code something, and then the built application comes to the operation people, and then everyone else goes away. Everyone else goes away. Whereas here, the ones who built the software or who built the application or who built the product, is accountable to run it for at least 6 months, and then they only come to another organization, site reliability engineering organization, if it only fulfills a long list of checklist. Okay. So, any questions until here? But in the meanwhile, I will check your questions. Najib says, bring together means bringing people in the same location instead of staying on 3 offices. This wasn't my point, Najib, but yes, bringing people in the same office has always advantages. But bringing people together, by saying bringing people together, what I meant to say is, Najib, the product team itself consists of people, okay, from different silos. Okay, you have here a developer, you have a QA person, you have here a designer, an architect, a networking specialist, a database specialist, and also some people who are specialized in more than one aspects. That's correct. 6 months is guarantee period, but it's far and more than this, because they not only give the guarantee, they also execute the guarantee for 6 months. It's not saying, okay, we deliver to you, but for the 6 months also we will help you to run this. No, it's not only that. They also have the accountability for the 6 months. Good. Any questions here? Otherwise, I'm going to jump to the next slide. In this slide, basically what I try to do for you is, if you haven't got this so far, I compared the matrix organization, which are oriented to the projects, to a organization which is optimized for speed, quality, and cost, where the focus is no longer projects but the products. Okay, this was the idea. So. There is no specific, short name for this DG, but this kind of organization are called, optimized for speed, cost, and quality. Good. Okay. Next one. I can jump back later if there are any questions. Okay. This is the whole idea here. Good. So the next slide The alternative organization we call organization optimized for speed. Maybe let me write it. Optimized for speed, cost, and quality. Chi Dubem is a nice question. Is the 6 months, minimum time? Exactly, it's the minimum time, because after 6 months, they start talking about, okay, is this, product good enough? Now taken over by the site reliability engineering team. The process can go longer if we check this is not fulfilled Chi Dubem. Let's say if there are client complaints, or if there are performance issues, or if there are in-compliance issues by the application, then they will still the product team which originally delivered the software or the application or the value still need to work out, sort out all the remaining issues. I hope this clarified your question. Shahzad, there is no technical issue, but you may need to reconnect, because I think only you are encountering the issue. Please reconnect. Okay. So the next one, maybe you can help me, because this is a typical kind of waterfall, or you may call it V diagram, based on which direction you want to see. This chart depicts basically kind of transformation phases of a project, okay? This is transformation phases, and this basically are different phases. I will later tell you why I call them transformation phases. Don't focus on this at the moment. But these are basically different phases of a project. Do you want to help me? What are these phases? What is the R of any type of project? How do we start the projects? What is R? Help me, guys, please. Come on. What is R on this diagram? These are, how do we start our projects? Perfect, requirement. Exactly, requirement. We first need to know what we want to do, right? Yes, obviously, research is part of the requirement. Re-engineering is not right. We don't like re-engineering at this stage. And then someone said design, yeah, Supashini said design, that's correct. And what is the next one? What is the I? Implementation, right? Perfect. Implementation, yes, Subhashini, correct. Quality, let's say here for the sake of shortness, quality assurance. And then M basically stands for maintenance. And obviously before the maintenance we also have the deployment, right? We need to deploy the project to the location where it's going to live, right? Therefore we need to deploy, and then we maintain what we deployed. And here, with this diagram, the problem is, and this is T, by the way, this is the time, okay? And as soon as, again, remember the matrix organization that I mentioned here. As soon as the requirement is done, okay, all these people who has done the requirement start doing something else. It's the same for design. As soon as they finish the design, they move on to the next project. And similarly to the implementation, similarly to the QA. Okay. As soon as the QA says, "Oh, this is working," and then the deployment is done, and then they are all gone. Okay. And then guess what? Again, the same problem. If there is an issue, if there is a change request, if there is a problem, or if you want to basically, let's say, have a critical issue, you need the key developer who delivered the application, but they are not there anymore because they are doing something else, okay? In this transformation phases, maybe I should write here, transformation phases of project, okay? Again, this is the old way of doing the things. Transformation phases, okay, of project, okay? Excuse me. Now, what is the alternative, okay? The alternative is, you know, this should give you, by the way, the idea why agile matters, okay? This is why I'm doing the slides for you, you know, instead of, you know, deep diving, hey, this is the sprint, this is the, you know, sprint planning meeting, this is the sprint retrospective meeting, you know, instead of doing this, you know, concepts first, I'm giving you the idea, you know, where these things come from, why agile matters, okay? With this comparison. The next part is TC. Here with TC, okay, I am talking about transformation cycles, okay? We are no longer talking about the phases, we are talking about the cycles, okay? And also we are no longer talking about a project, we are talking about what? We are talking about products, correct? Transformation phase of the project we talked about. Now transformation cycles of products. Because in agile world, okay, a project is never counted as complete, okay? Therefore, they don't matter. We talk about the product, okay? We talk about the increments, what we deliver, all the way on this, you know, cycles. And the idea is, it all starts with a vision, okay? It all starts with a vision. Let's say you have a vision. Let's say, you know, a simple, you know, example. Let's say you want to plan your, let's say, wedding party, okay? Or you want to plan your, let's say, next vacation. Whatever you want to plan. Maybe a wedding planning or a birthday party planning, okay? A simple one, birthday party, you know. It really doesn't matter, you know, what kind of party you imagine. It can be a kind of a small celebration with your, you know, key family members. It can be a celebration with, you know, your hundreds of friends, whatever. But in the end, this is a vision for you, right? You have a vision. A vision of an act, okay? Of a value delivery, of a proposition that you are going to involve everyone else. You have a vision. But you have no clue how you get started with it. So, again, all these, you know, iterations will help you to fine-tune the idea. Let's say, after the first iteration, you know, you basically, you know, thought about a bit of requirements here. Okay, this is kind of, you know, what I do. Maybe, you know, I do with the family. Then, you know, let's say you design, okay, what kind of, you know, cakes I'm going to, you know, order, what kind of food I'm going to order, and then you give the orders, and then you do some QA, you validate your ideas a bit. You come here, okay? You have a party plan ready already after the first sprint. But you are not happy with this, okay? You think, it's a bit, you know, too moderate. Maybe, you know, this is my, let's say, this is my 50th birthday. Let's do something more fancy, okay? Then in the second iteration, you go and then talk to a party organizer. You do another requirement analysis with a professional party organizer, let's say. And then you do a more fancy design at your home, okay? And then you give the orders, you implement them. And again, you validate your hypothesis, okay? And then this iteration, you know, goes on and goes on and goes on. You know, as you see, after each sprint, we have a delivery, okay? For the first delivery was a very, very moderate party at your own, you know, apartment. And then after the second sprint, you basically, you know, improved your concept. But you did have no idea you want to come there when you had a vision of a birthday party, okay? A more typical example of this is, you know, which probably you have seen on the internet, you know, if you want to build a vehicle, let's say if you want to build a car, your vision is not to build a car, but your, you know, vision is to build a transport equipment, okay? Or maybe, let's say vehicle, an easier word than transport equipment. You want to build a vehicle, and then in the first iteration, basically, you build maybe a scooter, okay? a simple scooter, and then you build a bike, and then from bike you go to a car, okay? But your vision didn't even tell you you want to build a car. Your vision basically tells you you want to build a vehicle, and then step by step you run this different cycles in each of your project product iterations, and then as Najib said, yes, it all starts at minimum viable product, and then you basically get the feedback from the stakeholders, from whoever pays the check for that, and now you improve the idea during all these cycles. Again, see the difference. You basically have a set of idea. You define the requirements, you define the design without having an idea where the project is going, and all these people disappears. Okay, you no longer, when you start the implementation in 99 of 100 matrix organizations, you no longer have these projects on the board because they are doing something else. Now the implementers are on their own. Okay, when implementation is done, QA people are on their own, except one or two developers maybe to fix the bugs. When the maintenance is, when the deployment is being done, nobody wants to touch it anymore because the project is anyway, barely delivered to the maintenance people, and they don't want to, hear about this anymore. This is how the matrix organization operates. Whereas in the alternative organization that I presented you in the previous, slide, you have a product team accountable for the work that is being done here, and then they improve this step by step on each of these cycles, and then the focus is again no longer a project, but the focus is the product. Okay, and here also I want to give you a brief idea where this concept come from. Okay, because you may be thinking in terms of the things that is happening in the last 1 or 2 decades. Okay, if you think about Scrum and Agile, they are not basically new, inventions that are basically came to our world in the last couple of decades. All these things, take its roots, from probably, mid 20th century. After the Second World War, there was a large lean movement, okay, in the world, and basically Japan is one of the leading countries where they basically led the lean movement. And the lean basically derived another kind of thinking, a new way of thinking and a new paradigm in the world. And with this paradigm, the feedback, the early feedback, all this, different kind of iterations, having, just-in-time, inventory, just-in-time delivery, all these concepts are not basically new. And the Scrum itself was basically kind of seeded also in 1950s with the Toyota Improvement Kata, okay? Toyota Improvement Kata. And what Toyota Improvement Kata said is, when you start a project, okay, you have a vision, okay? You have a vision, but you don't know where to go there. And then with the information that you have in your hand, okay, that you basically make your first, iteration. You take an action, you implement the first part of your vision, and then you evaluate your situation, okay? Then you basically raise the bar, okay? You basically raise the bar, and then make your next movement over there, and then you basically, improve, whatever you have got in your hand, and while you are basically progressing, your vision is also shaping, okay? It's not kind of a stop-burn vision. Hey, we want to build this. That's what we are going to do. No, it's not working like that. You have an idea, you have a vision, and then while you progress, you learn, on the way. You learn from your errors, okay? Not only the success stories, basically, most of the good lessons, most of the large, improvements, most of the leaps comes from the mistakes anyway. It's even, think about, your own, personal, professional journey. Think about the lessons you learned, okay? And I bet 99 of 100 times you get the good lessons from the mistakes you do, okay? That's always working like that. And when the human mechanism, when the human system works like that, why not business? Why we should basically hide the mistakes and now focus only the success stories? And if you do this, then you basically learn slow, if any, okay? And therefore the idea is with the Toyota Improvement Kata, you set the vision, You try to go there, you learn around the way, and then you come, and then go to the next level. You know, what I talked about is here a sprint, okay? You put a vision, you put a sprint goal, okay? You put a sprint goal, and then you iterate it, and then you iterate it based also on this chart, you iterate it, okay? And then you evaluate where you are, and then you do another iteration. And this is called Toyota Improvement Kata. And if you think about Scrum is something that was invented, you know, 2 decades ago. This is wrong. This is invented about 1950s, okay? All this idea. The application for the software industry is another subject. Then you can tell, okay, maybe early 90s when they announced the agile manifest. But the start comes from Toyota Improvement Kata. And then the next one. This is a concept. CI is a concept. CI is not here continuous improvement. CI here stands for commander's intent. Okay. Commander's intent. Okay. Don't get me wrong, but in my life. In personal life, in professional life, I always observe that people need a commander, okay? Regardless the type of project you do, you always need a visionary, okay? And the visionary sets the goal, okay? Sets, okay, we kind of, you know, need this type of scooter. And he visualizes the kind of the scooter in front of, before everyone else, and then puts the commander's intent. And this is what we call, you know, when you apply sprints, when you apply commander's intent to the agile world, you can call this maybe a sprint goal, okay? Sprint goal, okay? This is done by, you know, if we go a bit, you know, step further, this is done by, you know, product owner, because product owner is the visionary of the team, okay? In my opinion, in Agile and Scrum world, the most difficult and complex role is being a Scrum product owner, because you are the visionary, you are the entrepreneur, you define the next level of your business, and you are the commander, okay? You basically set the goal, what the team needs to work on, because setting a goal means people will spend their time and your organizations will spend, you know, the money on this goal. And therefore, this commander's intent is a very, you know, complex role in my opinion. You need to understand the human dynamics, you know, what motivates them, what fails them. You need to understand the bottom line of your business, the weaknesses and strengths, where you need to go next, and you need to also be able to, you know, visualize the next level of your, you know, product before everyone else. And this commander's intent, you know, if you are wondering where this is coming from, this concept is coming from USA Army, okay, from US Army. Whenever US Army have a project or product or vision idea, they write a memo with the commander's intent, okay? What the goal is, what they want to accomplish. It's not saying what needs to be done or how it needs to be done, but they only say the intention. And the commander writes the memo, writes the intention, sets the vision. And then the soldiers work on this, okay? And if we go one step next now and come to the agile world, this is the goal of Scrum product owner. And it's a very, very complex role, require, you know, a lot of skills. And then maybe after having heard this, you may see your product owner in a different glasses now. But yeah, this is kind of how they're supposed to operate. Okay, now I'm going to, you know, this is here on this slide, again, a brief summary. What I try to do is, I gave you a classical, you know, waterfall project, the pitfalls of it, and then here we remove the project concept, we focus on the products now, and we no longer focus on the phases, we focus on the cycles, and then we run the cycles based on Toyota Improvement Kata and Commander's intent. In the next slide, I'm going to talk more about the technicalities, how we do this. Yes, good comments. Any more questions until this point? Thank you, Finmilola. I'm glad you liked. Najib asked an example of commander's intent. I mean, everything that they do is based on that. You don't need a specific example. You know, open a newspaper, go to Google, type USA Army. You know, everything is based on this commander's intent concept. Lean means reducing waste, limiting work in progress. Yeah, this is the inventory management aspect of lean. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. But not only that, and also continuous improvement, as Mohammed said. Excuse me. Good. Then I'm moving on the next slide. The next slide will be a more classical slide. Probably you can find many other places. But after this slide, it's going to get more interesting. But I still want to cover this slide because I kind of imagine that, you know, many people also attempt to learn this for the first time. And here on one single slide, I tried to, you know, summarize for you how a Scrum organization looks like, and also how a typical, you know, cycle and the Scrum product or value proposition delivery operates. So basically, I want to talk about something that not many people talk. Kissington said text on the wall is small. Yeah, maybe try to maximize the screen. I'm aware of the issue, but yeah, to be able to, you know, put this setup, I have no other way. Otherwise, I either need to disappear myself or this one, and I don't want to use the screen, but I want to, you know, use the setup. Therefore, you know, if you maximize the screen, Kessington, then I think you will also see the text. But I apologize for the inconvenience. So basically, here on the slide, I want to talk about, you know, something that not many people talk, but which is key for the success of any agile kind of projects, or maybe even for the improvement of your own, you know, professional results, which is the client. Okay, understanding the presence of the client of our projects is very key. Therefore, before, you know, I focus on anything else on this type of, you know, presentations, I always depict the client, okay? Because if there is no client, there is no project, there is no product, there is no business, okay? And therefore, from this point onwards, okay, and if you don't learn, you know, anything from this session, okay, only try to get this lesson. This guy who is paying the check, okay, is, I don't want to say the, you know, the cliche word, I don't want to say they are the king, etc. But what I try to say is, the client is basically the number one thing where we are here, okay? And if you are involved in any kind of, you know, business decision, let's say, what we are going to do today, what is our priority for today, okay? And if your priority is not adding value, okay, to the client, if the priority is not adding value to the client, I am sorry, but this is not this is not the right priority. Our efforts, okay, in all the way of whatever we do, should always focusing on delivering the value to the client, okay? This is, for instance, my personal way of operating, which also, you know, changed my life, my own efficiency quite a lot, okay? If something that I do doesn't add value to the clients, okay, I simply don't do this, or I delegate as cheap as this possible. Only for the things that matters for the people that I'm serving, I focus on my own, you know, time and energy. Otherwise, I simply skip it. And you should do the same, okay? You should do the same. Because they pay the check, okay? And if they are paying the check, and then if you are discussing, let's say, with your, you know, manager or with the team, hey, how big should be the Scrum team, okay? How big should be Scrum team? You don't really need to waste your time with this type of, unproductive discussions, because what matters is if the size of your Scrum team delivers the value that they deserve and then pay for, okay? And you may basically accomplish this maybe, I don't know, with 3 people or maybe 30 people. To be honest with you, 30 is an exaggeration, but I saw, very efficient and successful Scrum teams, that contained more than 15 people, 15. It's all possible. And similarly, with only few people, I saw very efficient, agile Scrum teams. That's all possible. Therefore, the technicalities, the numbers, the cliches are not going to serve you a bit, okay? If you want to involve in a real, agile business world. But what matters is the value that you create for them, and the decisions, the planning, the tasks, the user stories, the epics, and everything. If you serve them, okay? If you don't serve them, then I am sorry, but you are wasting their money and also your time, okay? Therefore, it's really important that I wanted to focus on this before I deep dive anything else. Now let's go to the more traditional part after talking so much about the client. But I hope that I could make the point clear for you what really matters in any given project. If there is no client, there is no money. If there is no money, there is no business, okay? If you care about, let's say, getting a promotion, getting a pay raise, then these are your friends. You need to do your work in a way that to increase the value that your organization delivers to the client. Then you have a big chip in your hand to negotiate with your boss, because you are the one who served for them, okay? But if you talk about, small details that nobody cares about, hey, I spent my night to solve this, but so what? What did it serve to these clients, okay? What matters is, creating value for them. Then you become irreplaceable, okay? Then you become a non-commodity person, non-commodity company, okay? Non-commodity employee or non-commodity employer. I will talk more about this, in the next part of the session, how you can really differentiate from your competitors. But what matters always starts with creating value for your clients. Don't forget about this. It will help you quite a lot, okay? It will help you quite a lot. Now let's start the real part of the work, okay? The clients are always interacting with the visionary, okay, where we call the product owner, okay? Again, there is a reason why we don't call them project owner, we call them product owner. Are you getting the point now? As you noticed, in the previous slides, I replaced project with the product because the projects doesn't matter. We have a product here and there is someone, a visionary person, who is the one-to-one in touch contact with the client to deliver the value that they are paying for. But this doesn't matter that in this part, these persons are here, the Scrum team, okay? Just because they are not directly interacting with the client doesn't mean that they are not interested in working for the best interest for the client. In contrary, these are the persons who are creating the value for the client on behalf of the product owner, okay? Therefore, it really doesn't matter. You can be a developer, tester, architect, a project manager, whatever, okay? It really doesn't matter. Whatever you do in your team, in your industry, your sole focus is delivering value to the client, okay? Delivering the value that they are paying for, okay? It really doesn't matter if you are this guy or this gal, okay? It really doesn't matter. Your whole focus is delivering the value. But Scrum kind of, doesn't allow or doesn't recommend this direct communication with the client, and product owner is basically tasked to do this. But again, nothing is here basically got written, You can call the client and ask clarity. You can directly talk to them. You can basically, poll them. You can get their pulse, and you can basically understand if they are happy with the progress of your, work that you are doing, okay? And therefore, again, if it requires from you to, exceed the boundaries and, break the rules to create more value to your client, so what? Let's do it, okay? Because this is what we are, paid for. Why we are paid for, okay? Therefore, the traditional agenda, okay, I'm saying you, okay, product owner needs to be between the team and the client, but there is no, gut written rule that you can't basically directly talk to the client, okay? I really, ask you for your own sake, for your own benefit, to think, in front of the serving value terms to the client. Then this will basically change your life, okay? This will help you quite a lot. At least it helped me quite a lot. I'm sure it will do it for you too. And then we have one person here, which is the buzz of the next and last decade, which we call Scrum Master, okay? And Scrum Master is kind of the facilitator, kind of the organizer of the whole, the process. And in practice, the best Scrum Masters also are basically part of the project team. So some people are asking me, hey, if Scrum Master is a part-time role or full-time role, if Scrum Master should be working the real work together with the team, the answer is a yes, okay, a hell yes, because only if they are part of the team, directly working with the team members, they can really understand what is going on, okay? They can also negotiate on behalf of the client, on behalf of the team members, with the product owner, with the client if necessary. They can represent the best interests. And again, the theory says that the Scrum Master must be in the same level of the rest of the team members. Again, this is not a gut written rule, because among many clients that I searched for, the best Scrum Masters was also the team leaders. They were hiring and firing people, they were rating them, and the Scrum teams worked like charm. They are like turbo engines, because the team is accountable and also someone is accountable from the team. Remember what I say to you, the commander's intent, okay? They need, everyone needs a person to count on, okay? They need a leader, okay? In terms of the product owner is the leader. In terms of the delivery of the real work, in terms of the tangible deliverables and increments, the Scrum Master is accountable to do this. And also, obviously, if you go more back to the classics, they're obviously the facilitators. They represent the best interest of the process, okay, whatever it means. And then they basically ensure that all the rules and practices are adhered, okay? But among all of this, for me, the most important thing is they also have to ensure that the team does the work. The team takes the accountability. The team takes the responsibility. And they ensure that they all together, deliver value to the client. Because if you look at the classical terms, one of the goals of Scrum Master is to protect teams. Can someone tell me what protecting a team means? Are these, kindergarten people, or are they, teenagers who need adult, supervision? I really don't understand what protecting a development team means. Okay, this is totally a misconception. Okay, these are a bunch of professionals who are paid salaries every month. Okay, therefore their goal is to serve value all together. Okay, to this again client. And this is the right point of view to generate value with the agile, okay? But if you think about in terms of, protecting the team, I don't talk to the client, the product owner needs to do this, then I'm sorry, but then you will get what everyone else, or what most of the people will get, mediocre results. But if you think about, which is mediocre results, but if you think about in terms of, creating value to the client, then you will be playing in another league, okay? You'll be playing in the league of, champions. You'll be playing in the league of, value creators. And this will play a huge role in your career. Okay, let me check the feedback so far. Any question? Subhashini asked, does value mean only monetary value? It means two-way, obviously. Most businesses are doing the business to earn money, right? Obviously, otherwise they wouldn't open a business. And the idea with the value is exchanging, money. Okay, they pay you the money, and then you build a product for them. Actually, I made another cube here. The increment, okay? You build these increments one by one, and this is the exchange of money with the product or service, and both of them are value submachine. James, the presentation will be available in the group for the next few days. Kessington asks, can a project manager replace a product owner in a Scrum team? I mean, in the agile world, there is no project manager, Kessington, because there is no project. And the role, the combination of the roles of Scrum Master, Scrum Product Owner and Scrum Master basically involves everything else that a project manager does, and therefore you no longer need a project manager, Kessington, in your organization. Value could be anything: improved process, tools, interactions, etc. I don't think it's only monetary value. Said from Milole, completely agree. That's perfect. Appreciate you writing this. Opola, protecting them from blockers. Yet this is another role of Scrum Master. Exactly. Removing impediments faced by their teams. That's also correct. Michael said, so that the team can focus on value delivery. Wonderful. Zachariah said, value equals to what matters for the customers. Yes, that's brilliant. That's exactly the idea, Zachariah. Perfect. So this is the team setup, okay? In a bit more details, again, as I also mentioned in the previous slide, excuse me, it all starts with the product vision, which is defined typically in combination of client and product owner. And then they start building the product backlog, okay? PB, the product backlog. And the product backlog basically contains initially epics, okay? Epics are very broad kind of requirements. Let's say an epic can be, we need a user interface for our application, or we need a backend application to do XYZ. They are really very broad, as I said. And then from broad, abstract epics, you come more tangible definition of your requirements, which we call user stories, okay? Which we call user stories. And user stories, basically, I'm going to, in the next slide, I dedicate more about the user stories, but just to give you an idea, a user story defines who needs why, who needs what, and why, okay? For instance, the security organization needs a double authentication mechanism so they can avoid that the unauthenticated users cannot basically interfere with our application. So who needs why and why? So basically, in the beginning we said, okay, what we need in more abstract terms, which are epic or epics, and then we define more about the user stories, where we basically fine-tune what these requirements are. And then from this product backlog, for every sprint, we create a sprint backlog, okay? This part is the small, blue area is the sprint backlog. And these are, hand-picked user stories by the team in order to implement the agenda decided by the product owner, this particular sprint. And these are all decided during the sprint planning meeting, okay? And then in the past I used to say I here instead, to represent implementation. Now I prefer using execution because I usually are mixed with the development, but the execution means the complete delivery of the increment. And obviously this doesn't only cover the implementation part, this also covers the fine-tuning of the requirements, and then designing the application, and then implementing it, and then running the necessary quality assurance to make sure that in the end of the execution phase of a given sprint, okay, you have a real increment. And while you do the execution, you have daily Scrum meetings, okay? Probably most of you are familiar with this. Daily Scrum meeting is a 15 minutes meeting happening every day. It really doesn't matter if you do it in the morning or in the afternoon, but typically it's done in the morning. And it takes, as I said, 15 minutes. And then the Scrum daily meetings or daily Scrum meetings goal is not to give decisions about anything. Their only goal is to understand where everyone is. And each team member, including the Scrum Master in the daily Scrum meeting, tells to everyone else what they have done yesterday, is there any issues or impediments that block their work, and what they are going to do today. This is where each team member says. And then, while this is happening, the Scrum Master creates an impediment log. Okay, I think one of you mentioned about this. In the comments, I saw it. The Scrum Master maintains the impediment log, and during the rest of the day, besides his other, delivery responsibilities, the Scrum Master also ensures that the impediment log is also handled, and the roadblockers to do the work for the other team members are removed. Okay. And after all this done, the execution phase, the typical sprint takes, most organizations use 2 to 3 weeks. But if your project just started, if you have no clue what you're supposed to do, you can do a 1 week exploration project, okay? 1 week exploration sprint, sorry. Or if it is really, clear what you're supposed to do for the next weeks, you can even, merge 2 sprints into together, skip some of the meetings, save some meeting time and administration time, and run some 4-week sprints. This all, depends on what you want to accomplish, where, under which circumstances. There is no, gut-written rule here, okay? It's all about your brain and your own decision, and then giving the right, kind of application of the process in the, given, circumstances. It's all about, thinking flexibly. And here we have the sprint review meeting, right? In the sprint review meeting, we typically have the client as well, okay? Because the product owner, together with the team, demonstrates the increment, okay? Demonstrates this cube is the increment, demonstrates the increment to the client, and then get their feedback. And this feedback basically can sometimes ends up adding new user stories to the product backlog. Or you may think that something has been completed, but the client says that, no, this is not right, or okay, let's do it in that way, let's change this, let's change that. That's the idea of this, iteration. And if you heard about, changing, adapting fast, this is the changing, adapting fast part of the Scrum or Agile business. Because only after 2 weeks, okay, you get the feedback from the client. And compare this with the waterfall organization that I showed you some minutes ago. You spend weeks or months for each phase, and you get your client feedback maybe 6 months, 8 months later. Whereas here you get via the minimum viable product. One of you mentioned about this. Via the minimum viable product that you delivered in only a few weeks, you get the client feedback, and then you basically define the other tasks, maybe other user stories, or maybe even other epics if required, to ensure that the application really fulfills their requirements. It really doesn't matter how you feel about the product, okay? Your personal opinion doesn't count, when it comes to clients, expectations. Okay, what counts is to ensure that you deliver, what they are require. Okay. And then the next part and the last part of a sprint is sprint. Maybe one of you can help me. What's it? Sprint retrospective meeting, right? And with experience, I can tell you that probably 19 out of 20 teams run the sprint retrospective meetings in wrong way. And then they talk about more like, oh, we didn't get the response right time from that team. There was, this kind of errors in the application that their own application are dependent on, etc. These are not really the sprint retrospective meeting elements, but these are rather items on the impediment backlog where the Scrum Master needs to sort out later. Okay. The sprint retrospective meeting's goal is to focus on the process, okay? To focus not what we do or not what kind of outcomes we get out of them, but to focus on, how we operate, okay? How we operate and how we basically run our own, work with the help of, whatever process you use, okay? In the sprint retrospective meeting, basically, you challenge the way the things work, okay? The idea is to focus on the process. Yes, I think you've done my training, a lot of my ideas, Subashini, great. So you focus on the process, and then you basically challenge, again, you challenge the things that you always have accepted as a, stone-grained truths. Maybe you think, okay, you always thought 2 weeks is the best way of working in your Scrum team, but why not 3, okay? You may open a discussion, should we use 3? Or should we estimate the user stories in a different way, okay? Maybe you are using, Fibonacci numbers, but you may consider using, prime numbers, maybe, I don't know, maybe t-shirt sizes. You may challenge the way you do estimations. You may challenge the way the interactions with the stakeholders. You may challenge product owner. This is a very typical cliche. Because product owners usually don't attend sprint retrospective meetings, and then the team talk about, okay, product owner has no idea what's going on, etc. I can't tell you that this is not far from the truth. But yeah, the idea is basically focusing on the process. And then the whole iteration, again, here we got the increment. And then, remember my previous slide where I showed you something like that one, if you remember. Now the first one is finished. Now we do the second one. Everything starts from scratch. Again, in the end of the first sprint, we covered some, let's say, user stories, one epic finished, and then the half of another finished, and then we pick other ones from here, maybe some others from here, and then do the iteration once more. Again, review event, retrospective meeting. Again, we continuously update the impediment log. Scrum Master, attempts to sort out them. Product owner come with, new ideas in between, some scopes creep, etc. Changing the things, maybe attempts to changing the sprint, etc. All these things are, day of a life in a Scrum team. But the essence is adaptability, flexibility, creating, and then having the mindset to continuously create value for the client. And this is the right way of operating in an agile team. So that was my message from that slide. Any questions, any unclarities? Marwa encountering some issues. Session seems to be all right to me. Maybe he's encountering some internet issues. Any questions? Good. Okay. Then let's check what's next. Next one is a bit now slowly, you know, we talked about the basics. Now on the slide, I want to give you more information about the technicalities that you need to pay attention when you run a sprint. Because one of my observations in many teams is they are having the difficulties to grasp the difference between product backlog and sprint backlog and how they operate together. Okay, and on this part I want to first start covering about this. Then we are going to talk about a bit more about the story points, maybe a bit more about estimations, the DoD concept, definition of done, and I want to talk about the burn down charts. Okay, the burn down charts of sprints as well as the products. Okay. Okay, so here every project has a product backlog, okay? And this product backlog, as I mentioned, contains epics, but what counts when it comes to planning sprints are the user stories, okay? We have a bunch of user stories. And what we do is, when we do sprint planning meeting, we pick up some of them, okay? Let's say, for this particular sprint, we picked up this one, we picked up this one, and maybe another one, we picked up this one, okay? Let's say 3 user story sprint, okay? And now what happens is, in the sprint planning meeting, basically there are 2 parts, okay? Remember the sprint planning meetings we discussed. In the sprint planning meeting, on the first part, the team, together with the Scrum Master and also Scrum Product Owner, can feel free to involve. What they discussed is initially what they do for a given sprint to fulfill the sprint goal the Scrum Product Owner has defined, and then how they do, okay? So what part, okay, is basically selecting these user stories. And then here, in the sprint planning meeting, starts the how part, okay? How we are going to do this. And then how part basically means decomposing these user stories into tasks, okay? This T stands for task, okay? From there, we create tasks, okay? Because user story is kind of a requirement, right? Which defines 3 W's. What are these 3 W's? Who, what, and why, okay? Who requires this, what they require, and why they require. And you maybe, if you don't have too much experience, you may be thinking, okay, why do I need to know why we need this user story? The answer is simple. Only by knowing why the client needs this user story, you can ensure that you deliver the right value, because the clients also, most of the times, don't know the real reason why they need something, okay? But if you at least have this initial idea why they talk about this user story, you can also come up with other ideas. You can go and discuss with the Scrum Master, with the Scrum Product Owner, and then give feedback to improve this what, okay? Which basically help in the end the who, and then the who is the client here, okay? And because of this simple, pure reason, this user stories are always defined who needs why and what, who needs what, and why they need this what. Again, example. As a call center agent, okay, I'm a call center agent, I'm the client. As a call center agent, I need a GUI to check the bill due dates, okay, to check the bill due dates, so that I can ensure that I can follow up with the clients whose bills are due, okay? you see now, you understand my concern, right? I'm a billing agent working in the call center, and I don't want the clients who didn't pay their bills go away, okay? I need a mechanism, okay? I need a mechanism so I can see on my monitor, I can see which clients, okay, or what client didn't pay their bills yet. So now this gives you an idea why I need this. What is my concern? My concern is I don't want my clients to go away without paying their bills. So now if you know this why, then you can also help me to improve this idea. Then you can say, interesting. Then maybe I can implement an automation, behind the hood of this backend, so that before the bill goes due, maybe 1 or 2 days before the bill goes due, if it is still not paid, I can send a reminder to the client, okay? A reminder email, and then you can come up with this idea. And then in the next, sprint planning meeting, you can define a user story. Okay, let's send emails to the clients who didn't pay their bills. And then the next sprint planning meeting, you can define the task to do this. Let's configure the email server or email SMTP, sender agent, and then let's type this email in 16 different languages, whatever, or also configure the database, check the configurations, whatever, define all these tasks. But you see, just because you know this why, you created an additional value for your client. They came up with the idea, okay, let's show me the clients who didn't pay their bills, but you helped them with another idea to improve their life. Now they don't have to check this, every day. Oh, okay, who didn't pay their bills? But now they see not only who haven't paid their bills, but there is an automation mechanism now who informs the clients who didn't pay their bills. I think Marwa has some issues. I don't know how I can help him. I'm sure he has some networking issue. Okay, and the tasks are defined in the sprint planning meeting, okay, clear? And then sprint starts, day 1. I take over this, another friend take over this, maybe it comes here initially, another friend takes over this, okay? And then we start working on them, and then we put them under done when it is done, okay? When it is done, we put them in the done, okay? Another practical way of doing this is, there is a swim lane concept. You can create, maybe let me use another color for you. You can define some swim lanes for the related user stories, okay? Let's say if these two user stories are related on a board, you can make a swim lane, okay? So you can see on the swim lane what are the tasks for this specific user stories who belong to the same swim lane, and then which tasks are in progress, which tasks are done. This helps us also because we have here the in progress column. This helps us also to basically restrict the work in progress work. Okay. Now you can see if you are overloading your team's capacity. And this is basically goes through the Kanban, okay? Basically the sprint board is nothing, more than a mini Kanban board, okay? And this is an invention from 1950s, okay? The Kanban board, again. And even before, all this idea, the limiting the work in progress, limiting VIP, is even a longer history than that, because limiting VIP started even before the project management. It started for the inventory management. In the World Wars, they saw that they can't basically maintain enough food in the supermarkets. There is no way, okay? Because either they decay because of the overcapacity, okay, or they basically, miss the sufficient level of material to serve them when they are required, and therefore they decided to basically have boundaries, okay. Either it must be, you know, larger than x, but also smaller than y, the capacity, okay? And this concept basically, you know, has probably a history about, you know, 1 century. And as you see, each, you know, good process or good application has basically the accumulation of all, you know, past practices, you know, coming from the past. And we call this today Scrum. And then later, during the last 6-7 years, we also started using the DevOps process. And DevOps is basically kind of the new generation, a new adaptation of this, you know, process. But not only, you know, because in the Scrum we usually talk about the delivering the work, but with the DevOps organization, now we not only have the delivery part, but we also have the operational part, okay? We also have the security part, we also have the architectural part, we also have the business analysis part, you know, included in the same organization. So long story short, nothing that you see is here basically, you know, something, you know, that has been generated really very recently. They are basically accumulation of a long history, okay? And obviously, only by learning this, you know, past principle, you know, past mistakes, you know, past you know, processes, you can basically combine them in a way that to apply, you know, best practices on your own organization. I will talk about the definition of done. I haven't done it yet, Ulari. Okay, now let's talk about first story metrics, story point metrics. Basically, in classical, you know, project management, we estimate the tasks in terms of, you know, this task will take, you know, 2 days. This task will take, you know, 5 weeks, whatever. Okay, but in the sprint way of, you know, working the things, we don't define the real timeline of the user stories, but we define their relative, you know, complexities, okay? And there is basically no real unit, okay? But we assign the user stories a number. And one way of doing this is using the Fibonacci sequences. Fibonacci sequence starts from the 0 and then 1, and then after you write 0 and 1, you always add up the last 2 numbers, okay? And then you add up 0 and 1, again 1. You add up 1 and 1, you add up with 2. You add 1 and 2, you end up with 3. And then 2, 3, you end up with 5. And then 3, 8, you end up with 8. And then 5, 8, you end up with 13. And then 21, and so on, goes on to the infinity, okay? So when you now, if you decide to use Fibonacci numbers to estimate the user stories, you pick up one of these numbers, okay? And one way of, you know, estimating stories, which is also a very frequently used way of estimating stories in the agile Scrum framework, is using the planning poker, invented by John Cohn, I guess, if I don't remember his name incorrectly. Basically, each team member in the sprint planning meeting give an idea about his own estimation. Let's say in the sprint planning meeting, we talk about this specific user story, okay? And then everyone basically holds a card and they don't show to each other. And then every one of the team members give an estimation. You know, one guy gives 3, one gal gives 8, another gives 5, another gives also 5, another 5, one more 3, one more 8, okay? Then everyone, you know, puts their vote, and then they open, you know, simultaneously, and I show you my vote, you show me your vote, and then everyone explains, you know, his own, you know, point of view, why they estimated the way they estimated, okay? And then after everyone, you know, hears about, you know, each other's, you know, explanation about why they estimated in a given way, then they do another round of this estimation, and then another round, and another round, and another round, and until they reach a consensus, they continue these rounds, okay? And this is called planning poker. And again, this has nothing to do with the metric you use. You know, one way of doing this is Fibonacci sequence. Some organizations use this t-shirt sizes. Let's say X small, or you may even start with XX small, or small and medium and large, X large, XX large, whatever. You know, another metric that you can use for the user stories is the t-shirt sizes. Some teams directly use the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is not the recommended way, because it doesn't really easy to differentiate 3 to 4 or 2 to 3. But in Fibonacci, you see there is more jumps in between numbers, this is why Fibonacci sequences are the most popular when it comes to story point metrics. Another way is some organizations use the prime numbers. You can also feel free to use prime numbers if it makes sense for your own organization. Again, it's all about a bit of test of how you want to do this, and also testing the idea on your own business ecosystem. So that's the point here. Okay, now I think this is a good point to talk about the story, the burn down charts. Then afterwards, I will cover the definition of done. The burn down charts, basically, we have one burn down chart for the product, okay? And in the beginning, when we defined the project, I showed you a product backlog, right? And then the product backlog will have a total number of user stories, let's say 200, okay? And here the metric is on the x-axis, the sprint. And now you have here sprint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the idea is each sprint, this number is supposed to go up, go down. But at some point it may also go up, because after each sprint you get a feedback, right, from the client. But let's see, this is first sprint, second sprint, third sprint, and then if the client gave you a feedback, oh, we forgot saying you this mechanism that we need over there, suddenly you have maybe more user stories, okay? Then it again goes below, and then kind of normalizes. So that's the idea of this sprint burn down chart, and this kind of gives you a graphical dashboard view how you consume the open or known requirements, known user stories in your sprint. And the other variation of this burn down chart is the sprint burn down chart itself, and here you use the day, okay? And now let's say here we have our sprint backlog. Let's say for this particular sprint we got, let's say, 4 user stories, right? And the estimations can be, let's say, 5, 8, 13, and 2, okay? Let's add up these numbers. This is 28, right? So here for this particular sprint, we have 28 story points to deliver, okay? Then your sprint starts with 28 points, and then every day you count the remaining user stories, okay? And then let's say if you have a 2-week sprint, you have 10 business days. And basically your idea is to consume all this story points until the end of sprint, okay? And these numbers, typically this number you consume in a given sprint, in average of course, will give you the velocity, okay? 28, then if you usually deliver 28 or 29 or 30-ish, user stories in a given sprint, then you call this, I have my velocity, which is, let's say, 30, okay? Then you know that in a given sprint, you are safe to deliver 30 user stories, but not more. And therefore, when you plan the next sprint, you ensure that you are not exceeding these numbers, but you are also not staying, below. You don't go to a sprint with 20 user stories. Then you a bit, work hard with your Scrum product owner, maybe directly with your client, to ensure that you basically deserve the money that you are spending. And then therefore, instead of starting the sprint with 20 user stories, you start with 30. Sorry, not user story, with 30 user story points. And this velocity will guide you in the planning meetings, so you ensure that you get, sufficient number of work, but also not exceeding your capacity. This is why velocity concept is used. Any questions about velocity? Already using the numbers is not really typical. Can you please shed more lights on velocity driven by sprint and commitment driven sprint? I mean, the velocity is basically, it's an unknown number, okay, for me, Lole, in the very beginning. You simply, this is why it's recommended to do a 1 week exploration sprint also, because this exploration sprint will not only help you to explore the product that you are going to working on, but also to explore your own capabilities in your own team, let's say. And then you kind of have a feeling, okay, we can deliver 25 user story points, USP, okay, in every sprint. And then you test next sprint with a 25 USP planning, and then you notice that, okay, it has been too easy. You had a lot of free time, and then the next sprint you may try 30, okay? You may try maybe then 35, okay? And as you continue, after 5 to 10 sprints, Finmole, now you have a data where you can look, the past, and then calculate your average, okay? And then this average will give you a better sense of, how you need to plan the next sprint. And then this number will become your velocity. And of course, don't forget, this is not, again, stone-grained. You always, look up the numbers, you always, compare the number you use with the recent history, and then you fine-tune this along the way. This is how you basically construct the velocity and also improve it, because the process that we are talking about here is not only improve the way you work, you also use the same process to also improve the way you use the process. Don't forget about this. So I hope this answered your question for me, Lole. Good. Then on this slide we have definition of done. Definition of done is actually kind of a criteria, okay? It's kind of, let's say, a checklist, a criteria checklist to be able to say when is this story done, okay? Because we said in the end our goal is to create tasks and then bring these tasks under the done field, and if all tasks associated to a certain user story, then we call the user story done, okay? We call the task done, okay? But how we do to define this? There is a checklist to do this, and this checklist is called definition of done, okay? And the definition of done has different levels, okay? You have a definition of done you can define for product. And again, these are always changing and improving and evolving over time. You have a definition of done for a release, okay? Definition of done for a sprint. You have a definition of done for the epic. You have a definition of done for user story. You have a definition of done for a task. Don't imagine something like a page-long document for all these elements. These are mainly usually short and sweet bullet points. Okay. Short and sweet bullet points, but they all have a meaning. No intangible data, all tangible, concrete, observable, testable, and measurable data, but short, sweet, and understandable, and also objective data. For instance, we want to have a beautiful, good user interface that the clients will enjoy using. This is not concrete. This is not measurable. Okay. You basically need to specify the criteria. What do you mean with beautiful user interface? And if you want to say really beautiful or a lovely user interface, then what you can do is you can maybe say okay, in the end of the sprint we do a polling among the client members, and then if the survey, if the polling exceeds a certain number of points or certain number of stars, then we say, okay, this story is done. If we lack the sufficient number of good feedback, then you may say, okay, you will go back to the drawing board, and then you implement or you change this user story in a way that you rework it and then you improve it. Again, long story short, it must be measurable, it must be tangible, it must be understandable. Okay, that's the idea of the definition of done. Okay. Yes, it's the acceptance criteria. That's correct, from Milone. Good. Now, okay. Now I'm going to bring the second set of slides. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay. I know you may be thinking why I didn't put all of them all together, because they didn't hold. The magnetic tool that holds these papers are not strong enough to hold all the papers when I hang them, and therefore I had to group them into two. This is why I am bringing this second group of slides. If you are curious about why I do this. Okay. In the second slide, I'm going to give you some clues how you operate when some surprises happens in your organization. I also want to prepare you that the journey will not be always a sunny day sailing, okay? You will have issues, you will have complications. It's day in life, right? It's day in life, not only in business, in my opinion. There will be always funny, maybe less than funny surprises, and therefore the idea is to get this prepared and to be able to handle these situations. And this is why on this slide I want to give you, first of all, talk about the values, but then tell you why it will be not always easy to adhere, the values, and how you can, mature the organization. But then I will dive even more than this. But yeah, let's start with it at the moment. First of all, a question to you, ladies and gentlemen. What are the values of a Scrum organization? These values, they are usually known as 5 values of a Scrum organization. Can you give me some clues about this? What are the values of Scrum? Tell me, I'm waiting for your feedback. Okay, I'm giving the first one, so you may come up with the next one. So, first value is commitment, okay? Next one is courage. What else? Good, openness, perfect. What else? Focus, correct. We failed only one, I guess. That's it. Somebody wrote it. Respect, yeah, Michael has wrote it. Perfect. So these are the values, okay? These are the values of self-organization. Now the question that we have to ask is to all of us, why are we organizing self? What is the goal of self-organization? It's obviously not for the sake of running a team, right? If you basically think about why we need to self-organize, the idea is to basically reduce the number of dependencies to other third parties, because as long as you always have to interact with external third parties, it may be a vendor or it may be another unit in your organization, then you always lose time and energy, and the context switch and everything will basically reduce the efficiency. Okay, and the idea of self-organization is not building a team who says, hey, we are self-organized, don't touch us, we do our own work. This is not the idea of self-organization. The idea of self-organization is creating value, fast, high quality, cost effectively, okay? This is why self-organization and all these values matter, okay? Because respect is not only the respecting the other team members, okay? It's not only respecting your peers, okay? It's also respecting the client's investments on your team, okay? So that you preserve your job over there. You preserve the client's interest of your company. If you are working, let's say, for a consultancy company, why they are paying you? For the value that you are creating for them, okay? Then you have to show the respect, okay, for this investment. You have to focus on delivering the value, okay? You have to be open to you, first of all. You have to be open, okay? We are quite okay to give feedback to the others, but most of us are not, honest to our own, okay? For me, for instance, when I discovered the way that I see my own strengths and weaknesses, this basically accelerated my life, probably 20 times, okay? Because as soon as you know where you are good at and where you are, less good at, then you can basically, in rocket speed, do everything in your life, okay? It's quite important, therefore, to be open, okay? Not only the others in your team, but also to the value, okay? This is why I tell you these are Scrum values, but also these are the values, of the the stakeholders, investment, okay? And then the courage, you need to do what it takes to get the value, in front of your client, and you have to be committed on that, okay? You have to really, take this as your, sacred duty, okay? If you want to differentiate from the crowd, okay? If you want to decommoditize, okay? Decommoditize, okay? From the rest of the competition, business-wise, employer-wise, if you are searching for a job, if you want to decommoditize yourself, you have to be highly committed in what you do, okay? I will give you a simple recipe how you decommoditize yourself. This is very exciting. I really love talking about this today. I will literally talk about this first time, but you will really like it. But decommoditizing ourselves with the commitment is really a fun way of creating a huge client value, okay? So when we basically build a team together, let's say you have been hired as a Scrum Master or a Scrum Product Owner. Now, or even a part of a team member, it really doesn't matter. You really don't have to be one of the titled persons. Or even if you're a member in a Scrum team, you will observe different stages, different aspects, okay, when you become part of a team, okay. And Tuckman basically developed a model for the stages of group development. This is not only specific for Scrum or Six Sigma or any type of project management framework. You can even observe the same thing in your family, in your relationships with your friends, in your relationship with your partner or spouse. This model of group development, and group is anything more than one person, okay? It's for me a group. You will observe all the stages, okay? And it all starts with forming, okay? Let's say if you start dating a girl or man, then okay, you form or you attempt to form a relationship, right? Then what happens? Okay, after few, nice days, you start storming, okay? Then you see the things on the person that you like a bit less than the things you observed on the forming phase, okay? Then storming is basically either addressed or you depart your ways. But if you address, then you now start performing better, okay? As a couple, as a team. And then you define the norms, the standards, the principles, okay? Norming. For me, norming means building principles. Building principles or building your own standard operating procedure. And this cycle basically turns one, okay? But usually it's not only one, okay? Something can happen, okay? Maybe a key team member may leave and now you hire someone else. Or your team is, distributed on multiple locations or merged with another team. Then you form another organization. Then it starts from the scratch. You form, somebody announced the forming, and then you start again storming. And either, the storming phase ends up not so good, and then the people, depart their ways, or you start performing, hopefully, and then you start norming. Now let's look at most of the organizations, what they do, okay? They reorganize most of the time. They form, they start storming, and they can't perform, and then they are not forming again, okay? This is why, if you ever thought about why, some of the large companies are reorganizing every year, this is one of the reasons. Because they never norm, okay? They never norm in reality. If you talk about on paper, oh, they are perfect, blah, blah, but it's not really like that if you look at, the real way of, how they operate. They form, they storm, and then they again form, they storm, they again form, and they storm, okay? So therefore, for you now, in the next slides, okay, where I talked about Tuckman's stages of group development is not for the sake of, explaining you how this works, but I will give you some clues how you, start, performing, and then how you start norming your own team. Again, to be able to do this, you don't need a title, to be honest. You don't need to be a manager, you don't need to be a business owner, you don't need to be a Scrum Master or Scrum Product Owner. You don't have to be young or old, but you need to be an influencer, okay? You need to be able to influence the others, and there are techniques to do this, which is kind of maybe which is another training by an own itself. But in the next 1 hour approximately, or maybe 45 minutes, I'm going to talk about how you use some techniques to establish yourself as a coach, as a guide, as a compass in your own organization, so that, like most of the Fortune 500 companies, your organization will not always loop between forming and storming, but you influence in a way that they really start forming and then they start norming, so that they can build some principles, okay? Because if you look at the successful companies, if you look at successful individuals, they have very strong principles, very strong principles. These are what the one of the, you know, or maybe few of the single, you know, common things among them. Building principles and how you come there. You can only come there by exceeding, you know, above and beyond the storming phase. Now the idea is how we are going to do this. So now this slide is, I haven't talked about this much in the past, maybe one of the other sessions, but I made some improvements on this slide, maybe some simplifications as well to give you the idea, okay? So we all talk about transformations, okay? You know, IT transformation, agile transformation, you know, Scrum transformation, all this transformation, okay? But there is one simple concept that we all ignore is there is a large resistance of change, okay? This is in the human nature, okay? To be honest with you, you can't really avoid this. It's not anyone's fault, okay? We are also, you know, by our own, you know, we are also resistant to change. You know, I'm not basically criticizing, oh, why we are resistant to change. We are resistant to change. This is how, you know, maybe we even survived until moment. Therefore, it's okay. Resistance to change is okay. We need time to accept the change, to understand the change, and also to understand the consequences of a change, okay? But how we do this, okay? How we do this? That's the idea. So basically, let's say there is someone over here and staying, you know, on the valley of this mountain or hill, and they want to come up, okay? They want to basically go there, okay? Now the problem is they are not strong enough, talented enough, knowledgeable enough to climb this mountain on their own. They need a vehicle to do this. And you know that you have the right vehicle for them, okay? You have the right vehicle for them. And you tell them, hey, if you get this vehicle, you have this many advantages to accomplish this goal compared to trying to accomplish this without having this vehicle. And now, if you turn back to the original subject, which is agile or agile Scrum transformation, what are the results? So we have speed, right? Faster time to market, which is key for the livelihood, for the future of all organization, okay? And we have to deliver with high quality. We have to satisfy the customers, whereas we still able to reduce the costs and we still manage the cost as efficient as is possible. We have to ensure that we have high productivity, high efficiency. We are able to adapt the changing, you know, circumstances of the world. We are continuously, you know, improving the work we are doing, and we avoid the same errors. We reduce the number of the errors that we are doing. At least we, you know, avoid doing the same errors again and again and again and again. Huh? And we learn from the errors. This is the motto, learning from the errors. We talked before about this. Increase the team morale, so they will be committed to your business, to your cause, right? And we want to also increase the job satisfaction. So we basically reduce the churn rate of our organization. Huh? And we obviously need to, you know, this list is not any special, you know, priority order, but client satisfaction. If I wrote this list in a priority order, client satisfaction would be probably on the top. Huh? Client satisfaction, we want to improve the client satisfaction. And obviously we need to improve the business performance, which is I changed my idea. Business performance, number one. Client satisfaction, number two, okay? You need to be able to enable the business performance so you can fund the next generation of your organization. Huh? And these are all the results. But they are not good enough to convince anyone. Huh? Because if you talk about this, okay, these are the good results. Do you explain this? But this comes from this eye and goes out from this eye, because what they think about is the current status quo. Oh, this will bring new job. This will bring, you know, new, you know, concerns. They have a routine. They come at 9 in the morning and go out to the office at 5. And then now they need to adopt a new way of working. You know, how they will do this, okay? How they will do this. I'm not going to give you the answer in a simple way, but I will first of all explain you how this is done in most of the organizations then I'm going to tell you how you can do this in most, more efficient way. How it worked for me and for many others. I helped, personally or also as, corporate clients. But the typical way is to begin with. The typical way in many organizations, probably most of them, is autocratic exposure, okay? They simply say, hey, we are doing agile. we start doing agile. Autocratic way of thinking. You see, they hit the walls, resistance to change, and the team plays, they are playing agile. But this is not, okay? And if you heard the saying that agile is the waterfall in small iterations, these are mainly the companies who are using agile in autocratic way because they didn't really understand the agile. Agile is not only the process, okay? Because what they learned is the process. They had been sent to trainings, they made the certifications, they can explain you why a sprint needs to be 2 weeks instead of 3 weeks, why a Scrum team needs to be 8 people but not 11 people. They can talk about the process, but none of them are relevant to the agile, right? If you follow me until this point. So process also hits the wall, okay? I mean, they play a bit, but obviously it's to the wall big time, most of the times. And another opportunity or another way of thinking this is kind of risk reversal, okay? It all starts, let's try, okay? Let's give a chance, okay? Let's choose a small project which maybe not really impact the business, big time. Let's give a try with that and then see, what we observe, if it works for us, if we get the good results and whatever. And then they implement the risk reversal way. But again, most of the time it's the wall because again here there lacks the commitment. Because they simply, if you are not committed and if you are only trying this, then again there is a problem, okay? These are kind of ways, I would reckon 99% of the organization work in that way, okay? This is why most of the transformations basically fail. They focus on autocracy, they focus on fancy, expensive trainings or certifications, but without understanding the underlying principles, and only risk reversal. What is the next way of doing this is? Next way of doing this is a way basically you can really help not only your organization but also yourself in your career, which is basically establishing yourself as a I mean, I don't want to say expert, but expert explains this maybe a bit better. How do you establish yourself as an expert so that the others follow you, okay? This is our idea, because this person here, you have the vehicle, this person needs the vehicle to climb this mountain, but they don't want to accept this. Even though you can explain them the benefits, you can't still convince them. They need to trust you, okay? You need to establish yourself as a person so they trust you, and then they give a chance to use your vehicle. And to be able to do this, you need to establish yourself as a guide, okay? You need to become their guide so that they know that they don't want to get lost on the way of this journey, okay? And to be able to become their guide, you need to see this as your sacred duty, okay? You need to go to the extra mile. If you expect someone to be committed on something, you need to be first of all committed on this, okay? Because if you don't believe in this, if you are not committed on this, you can't really ask your team members to accept a new vehicle to do their work. This wouldn't work, okay? This wouldn't work. So the idea here is you establish yourself as a guide, but how, okay? That's the main concept. Any questions so far? So the next one is basically, after having heard everything we are talking about, how the companies improve their efficiency and everything, we can't basically get away with what we learned, okay? Because the examples that I showed you has been really horrific, okay? And the companies are building a technical debt which cost them, if I remember the number correctly, it was from 2017, $600 billion vest, okay? $600 billion, if I write this, 600, and then I think another 3 zeros. So much United States dollar are vested for the technical debt, okay, via the waterfall organizations. This is a study. This number is not from out of my estimations. This number is a Gartner research done in 2017. How much the technical debt of organizations cost them in a year? $600 billion we are vesting, okay? Therefore, now, if you see the new way of working, this new opportunity, how we improve the speed, quality, cost, productivity, efficiency, client satisfaction, job satisfaction, business performance, now this stuff needs to become your moral obligation, okay? To not waste your client's money, to not waste your country's money, to not waste your career as well, okay? And if you accept this, you want to establish yourself as a guide with a sacred duty, with a moral obligation, then what you do is you transfer of enthusiasm, okay? And transfer of enthusiasm, basically, you are enthusiastic about what you want to do, and you believe this, you see this as your moral obligation, and you transfer this enthusiasm to the others, and then they trust you, they trust your guidance, and they jump on this resistance to change, and then they accept your guidance to get there. And again, to be able to do this, you don't need to be a manager, you don't need to be a titled leader in your company, you don't need to be a Scrum Master or Scrum Product Owner. You can be anyone and everyone, in every age, in every industry, in every experience or education level. It really doesn't matter. But establishing yourself as a guide is a new way of doing this. Now the question is, when I first presented this slide, one piece was missing, okay? The missing piece was, how you then establish yourself as a guide? How do you win the trust of others so then they accept you as a guide, then they basically follow your enthusiasm, and then you transfer this enthusiasm to them, and then they get to the other side of resistance to change flow. How do you then establish yourself as a guide, okay? Again, this goes to the important subject about decommoditization of your careers. So I want to tell you something very, very, very important that can also help you in your career. This really doesn't matter what you do, as a agile or not agile, or it really doesn't matter. This is kind of combination of different acts together, in my opinion. let's say if you are a billing expert, okay, in the telecommunication industry, okay. So here, the pool of the billing experts in telecommunication industry, okay. Billing experts in telco, okay. There are many people over there, right? I'm making X for the people. You're a billing expert in the telecommunication industry. Now, what happens when you apply to a job as a billing expert in the telecommunication industry? You're competing with all of these guys, okay? And if they like you, then they propose you a salary which you can't negotiate. Why? Because if you don't agree with the proposed salary, there's anyway, let's say if this is you, they propose you a salary, you don't like the salary, you want to negotiate, and they basically withdraw the offer. And then they go to the next candidate. Because this is the pool where you are, competing with the others, okay? Now, how do you differentiate yourself from the others? Differentiation is basically you add something else in your pocket which also adds immense value to this pool, which is basically you involve in another big queue or big pool. Let's say, I'm just making up this example, okay? It can be anything else, okay? I'm not trying to convince you here to become an agile expert, but let's say if you establish yourself as an agile expert, okay? There are also a lot of agile experts, right? Everyone is almost agile expert. I mean, I haven't seen anyone who is not agile expert since long while. There are many agile experts. There are a lot of them, okay? But if you are a billing expert in the telco, and if you are an agile expert, then you are competing in a very, very small pool, okay? In a very, very small pool, especially given your, geography where you live. There may be, a handful of people, okay, who are a billing expert in telecommunications and who is also an agile expert, okay? You'll be one of the few people in this pool, in this very small pool where these experts basically intersect, okay? Now there you have the chance to negotiate, okay? Because they need someone who is able to deliver the boat with experience, with know-how, with competence, with credibility, with past learned stories and everything. And if you are basically in this intersection, then you have the power to negotiate the salary because they don't have another candidate. This happened to me many times in my personal career. I'm not saying you this to break you. It was also a bit of luck on my side, to be honest, because I was a generalist. I was a generalist when I was between 20 and 30 years old, after the university, around my university times. I was trying to learn everything and anything, okay? Whatever comes on my way, I made myself a generalist and I developed, and still continue developing talents in few certain areas. And my luck was to be able to combine these few certain areas in my professional and also entrepreneurship career. But now the recipe became, years later to me very clear. The recipe was by luck, by maybe a bit of coincidence or maybe a bit of curiosity or hard work, I was able to end up in an intersection of different areas where I had the chance to negotiate my salary, to negotiate my promotion, okay? To establish my own future career. Therefore, my advice, my, humble advice, my, friendly recommendation to you is identify this intersection for you. Instead of being a commodity person in this big pool where you, compete with countless number of people, bring yourself in a combined area. Look at the emerging trends. Not all of them. But look at the emerging trends. Not only because they are talked more, but also look at the demand side. Okay? How many people do they need? You know, how many job openings are there in a certain area? For instance, today, two subjects I am totally, French, iOS development and cybersecurity, in my opinion. If you're a cybersecurity expert, go and learn iOS development. Or if you're an iOS developer, go and learn cybersecurity. Because there is a big pool of iOS experts, there is a big pool of cybersecurity experts, but the intersection is tiny. And again, you will have a big chance whenever an organization needs an iOS developer and experts who is able to also do cybersecurity. This is the way to build a strong career and feature. And why I talked about this, because building an expertise is not only reading the books or making the certifications. You also need to leave a legacy behind you. Okay, you also need to bring some traces of the work that you are delivering for the others. And this is basically explained in my next slide, which is this. How do you establish yourself as an expert? Because for me, establishing yourself as an expert requires some impact, okay? Some impact. This impact, don't get me wrong with impact. I am not saying that, oh, you have to save the world, etc. I'm not talking about something, emotionally, okay? I'm talking about, something, tangibly you can do, which is basically publishing, okay? Which is basically creating work, a track record, which is tied on your name, okay? This is the way you create your legacy, and also you establish yourself as an expert, okay? And it all starts, the phase one is, so this is basically a piece of fire you hold in your hand, and this is what you believe, okay? And it really doesn't matter if anyone else believes in what you do, okay? Even your spouse or partner, doesn't agree with you, it really doesn't matter, but you have to find the spark, okay? If you care about joining my training today, and I think we are about 50 people today after 2 hours, 21 minutes, and I know that each one of you, these 20 people, care about this slide, otherwise you wouldn't be here. And if you have the spark, you don't need anyone's encouragement, okay, to go to the next step. You only need your own belief, okay? Then you basically start the journey to establish yourself as an expert. Again, as I said, this can be iOS expert, cybersecurity expert, a billing expert, or in other industries, I don't know, expertising in homeopathical, non-chemical, medical treatment, or I don't know, psychology, anything and everything. Okay, there is no boundary here. Okay, you become a dreamer to begin with. Okay, you become the dreamer of your cause. Because dreaming helps you where you want to come, okay? There is again, another, about this dreamer concept, another session can be done. This all ties to, psycho-cybernetics, okay? Psycho-cybernetics is a concept written by a surgeon about 50 years ago, which is about visualizing where you want to come, okay? Let's say if there is a mountain between where you are today and where you want to reach. Let's say here there is a small pond that you want to come here, but there is a mountain between you and pond, and you have no clue where you come there. It all starts you visualizing, okay, and dreaming. You climb this mountain, and then you come to this pond, okay. It all starts by dreaming. It goes beyond, what I want to explain today, but let me give you an example why this visualization will help you, okay? Because this will build your self-confidence, okay? If you go to job interview, visualize this one, please. Next one, if you have a job interview, please try this and let me know about your results. I would really want to hear your results. Before the job interview, imagine yourself, you enter the room in a very confident way, very firmly handshake the other person's hand, and then confidently explain your past story, what you have done, what you learned, in a very sympathetic and in a very humorful way. Okay, Just imagine that you created a great impression, you really liked you during the interview, and then when you left the session, they give you some hints that, okay, you performed really well in the job interview, and you hear a positive results from them in a way or two, okay? Just imagine this before the job interview and do this many times. Do this many times, okay? Especially before the day of the job interview, just before you go to the bed, okay? Just imagine this, okay? Just imagine, how well you perform. And then you will see, how amazing the things will go for you in the next day. Because you trained your brain in a way that your high performance. And this is, by the way, not a story or not my own experience or not something that I imagine on my own. There are basically tests done about this. One simple test is this. A group of, students, have been basically, distinguished in 3 different groups, okay? And on day 1, they basically train, throwing the basketball and then count how many points they have done, okay? 3 groups, they all trained on the day 1, okay? And then on the 7th day, they made a final, training, and then their points trained. What differed these 3 groups is, the group 1 basically has done nothing, okay? They trained on the day 1 and then they did the exam on the day 7, okay? And then the second group, they trained day 1 and they trained day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and they made the exam on the day 7. And the third group, they only trained at day 1 and then on the day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they only imagined, they only dreamed that they are training and then they are throwing the ball and then the ball, goes to the basket. This is what they did, the second group. And then, the third group. And then guess what? On the 7th day, the group who trained every day only barely was better than the group who only imagined. And then the group who only trained on the day 1 and day 7, they miserably failed, okay? And then the group which miserably failed, and then the dreamers was really a huge basically distance. By only imagining the training, the third group basically made almost as good as training every day. And this test hasn't been done only once, okay? This test, they have been done many times in multiple universities. Always the same group. The ones who visualized always performed far more better than the ones who have done nothing. This is why it always starts with dreaming, because this will give you the self-confidence. This will create your belief. This will create your commitment. This will create really your enthusiasm. Okay, we talked about transferring the enthusiasms to the others, so they follow you on your own journey where they want to guide you, coach you, and this all starts with dreaming. This last part that I explained, I really didn't plan this, but I think this is also quite important to visualize the point that you want to come, and then you will find a way to go there, because your brain will sort this out. Your brain will find a way to sort this out, no matter what kind of difficulties you come, no matter what kind of difficulties will come on your way. Now we said you start creating some legacy, okay, for you. And to be honest with you, if you are just starting learning on any subject, not particularly or on agile or Scrum, on anything, the easiest way to learn about this is go and talk to people who are already experienced about that subject. Okay, let's say if this person is you, go and find someone who is able to talk about this. Okay. And go and interview them. Become a reporter, okay? Become a reporter. Ask them questions. How they get started? What were the challenges? What were good? What were bad? Did they ever think about giving up? Did they were there days that they totally gave up? What are the biggest lessons, biggest mistakes, biggest success stories? Ask any type of questions. Become a reporter. Put them on a blog, put them on a YouTube channel, put them wherever you want. Put them maybe on a document, on a PDF document, and then publish it on LinkedIn. Just, put this, seeds everywhere around you. Leave this, trail for you. Become a reporter, because you will then, when you talk to multiple ideas, okay, with multiple persons, you become really the learner of your craft, okay? Again, this is not only about agile. This is for anything, okay? Just report them and then put your findings on a blog, on a YouTube channel, on a podcast. It's to be honest, it's free to open a podcast, okay? You open a free, let me give you how you do this. You open a free, WordPress channel, okay? And then you install a free podcast, plugin. I can't remember its name. There is a whale in their logo as far as I remember. I think Whale Podcast or something like that. It's totally free. You install the podcast, and then you simply need a microphone. You even don't need a microphone. Just use the microphone of your laptop or PC, because the quality really doesn't matter at that stage when you get started. What matters is building the know-how, establishing yourself as a reporter initially, and then put it on a podcast. It really doesn't matter how many people watch or listen to it. What matters is, you build your, expertise. You become the reporter. And then, when you talk about, multiple, people, multiple experts, when this X's are, experts, different experts, then you get all of their point of view, and then some of them will make sense to you, some of them will make, less sense, but you start building your own, understanding about what you learn. Because let's say if you are learning agile today, you hear my perspective. Maybe somebody else, explains in a totally different way, which is better than me or worse than me. It really doesn't matter. But you got my point of view, you got someone else's point of view, then you merge all this and then you build your own point of view. This is what matters to you, your own point of view. And then you build your own understanding about your framework. Okay? You become a framework creator on the subject matter area that you are interested. Again, specifically today we are talking about agile, but this has nothing to do only with agile. You build your framework on what you learn. You build your own principles. You build your own norms, okay? What kind of norms you would want to indoctrinate to your team while they are storming. You build them thanks to these principles. Because reading one thing is a different thing, but talking to these experts is a different thing. This is a totally different league. You basically get their experience too quickly. And you even don't have to go to the highest experts to interview in the beginning, to be honest. Go and talk to a friend who has a slightly more experience than you. Because if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people already interviewed, then the experts will see that, oh, there's someone here, who has a podcast, already, a lot of, publications on this blog or podcast or YouTube channel. Then when you send them an invitation, they will approach this more friendly because there is already a content created about that on their own expertise. Don't go to the guy on the highest level. Start with your friends. Start with the people who are most approachable to you. Then over there, you step by step, you improve the bar. Okay. Therefore, here, don't think that, I have to go to the, if you want to talk about electro cars, I have to interview, Elon Musk. No, you don't have to interview Elon Musk. Go and talk to a friend who owns the electro car. Ask why about electro car. Does he care about, energy consumption, on energy saving? What differentiate this car from other cars? Just get his, feeling about this. And then maybe build the expertise on energy consumption. I mean, I'm just making up the example. You got the idea. What I'm trying to say is, don't go and try to make an interview with Elon Musk. Go and interview someone who is more approachable than him. Okay. And then this part is very difficult for most people, but you need to really get over this. You need to become a servant of what your craft is. Because so far we learned, right? And then we learned from the experts on the step 2, if this is step 2. On the step 3, you built your own fact sheet, you built your own principles, but you still lack the experience, right? You need to do some work before you say, hey, I'm an expert, or you want to be perceived as an expert. You need to do the work as a servant. Because we say Scrum is being a servant leader, but what I see is a lot of servant leader has neither serving nor leading experience, okay? And this is probably one of the another reasons why most of the agile transformation fails, because their supposed leaders are not capable enough of doing this. Therefore, you need to become really the servant of your craft before you attempt to establish yourself as a servant leader. Now you may think, hey, I don't own a job. I need a job to be able to become a servant. I'm sorry, but this is also wrong. There are a lot of organizations in your community where they aim to deliver some sort of projects, right? This can be, charity organizations. If you belong to a religion, this can be a religious organization. This can be a governmental organization, whatever. Or maybe unemployment organization. The easiest way is go and write a letter to your unemployment agency and then say you have something to teach in a given area. Okay, you have something to teach to unemployed people in a given area. With 99% probability, they will respond to you positively, and they will create a session for you with the unemployed people where you can share your know-how. Okay, and by the way, for me, one of the best ways of also improving your own know-how is also sharing with others, because they will challenge you. They will, show you where there are the gaps. If there are a lot of questions in a certain area, you know that you suck in that area. Okay, you will always suck in that area. Okay, but you will always step by step improve. You will suck big time in the very beginning, then you will suck less. But what you can never change is you will always suck. Okay, don't forget about this. But what's important is with iterations. Okay, with the servant way of thinking, you will always improve. Okay, again, as I said, if you don't have a job, go and help freely. Okay, do some work for free, because this will help you to build your experience. Okay, then you become servant. This will also mature your career, mature your own personality. Then step by step, you will become getting more leadership responsibilities. You will basically work with younger people, less experienced people than you, and then you will basically become their leader. You become their servant leader. But please, whatever you do, don't try to attempt to become a servant leader before you become neither servant nor leader. Okay? Then you will only frustrate yourself and others. Therefore, please don't skip step 4 before you come to skip step 5. And obviously, establishing yourself as a servant leader with this past behind you. Look at this past behind you, where you reported, where you learned from the people who are in front of you, who has walked this way before you. You built your own principles, your own norms, you create your own framework, and then you served either your organization or freely for the ones who need your help. Then you establish yourself as a servant leader, as an expert, as a guide. Okay? It's a guide to whom we will need, as I showed in the previous slide, the organizations need a guide, need a person that they can trust to run their transformations. Okay? This is how you come here. And this process is basically, is not a 1 or 2 day process, but it's also not a 1 or 2 year process. Okay? If you are here today as a dreamer, okay, in a few months you can easily come to the servant level. Okay? And you also have to have principles before you get started anywhere. Okay? If you, let's say, I want to be a reporter, I want to interview people, you need to put a measurable goal for you. Okay? You can say, I will interview someone every week. Okay? If I were you, I would say, I would even put more, strict, goals for me. I would say maybe 2 persons, 3 persons every week. But yeah, if you have other commitments with the family, work, and etc., let's say 1 person every week, and then start reporting in whatever medium you are interested, and also in whatever subject you are interested. Okay? And this process is only few months, because let's say if you do this for 3 months, then in 3 months you'll basically interview 12, 13 people. Then you will have 12, 13 podcast episodes, or videos or blogs in your blog, and then more people will approach you to do this. And then let's say you sent your resume to a Scrum Master job interview, and then let's say again Scrum Master is again a big pool of fishes. As I said, everyone is a Scrum Master and agile expert. There is a big pond, right, with a lot of Scrum Master. But what if you are one of the few who has some track record with a lot of publications? What if you belong to this small group of people who has a YouTube channel about agile, who has a blog about agile, and you give the link, www.yourname.com on the top of your CV. You are not only a Scrum Master anymore. You are a Scrum Master who publish about what you learn from others. You present a perspective. This is the guy I would hire. This is the guy you would hire as well, not any random guy from this pool. Okay? And this effort is only 3 months, and the rest is quite easy. Okay? You even don't have to do this forever, to be honest. But do this, and then you guide the others to follow you towards the top of the mountain by using the vehicle you bring to them. That's how this process works. But again, no matter where you are, I really signify this point quite a lot. No matter where you are, don't become someone in a big pool as a commodity, because you will be replaceable. If you have a job, you will have no job security. If you don't have a job, you will have a big difficulty to find a job, because you are one of the many. Okay, you are one of the many. And as I said, even if you get a job offer, you will have no power to negotiate. But if you are here one of the few, okay, then you are no longer a commodity. In most of the times, you even don't have to find a job, to be honest. Because if you do a good job here, the jobs will come to you. This is exactly how it worked for me. The jobs will come to you. Then you will know what's more interesting and what is less interesting for you, and then you develop yourself towards the right direction. So this is basically how you establish your career. You don't have to become an expert, but this is basically how you establish yourself, your career. And on this process, basically, what's also interesting is 2 things are happening. You basically grow, right? You basically grow. There is a growth. In the beginning, you grow fast, then it gets slower. This is why it's dotted here. And then another interesting thing is, you also contribute your industry. Okay? Agile or whatever, it really doesn't matter. You also contribute, you see? And in the beginning, it's dotted line, because obviously you are starting in the beginning. You may be not really much contributing, you are simply repeating what you learned from the others. But after you are becoming a framework creator with your own principles and norms that you basically handpicked and improved in your own way, then you contribute. And when you start contributing, then you no longer belong to a big pond. You belong to a subset of experts, subset of elite professionals of this big pond. Then you will have more and more and more opportunities. That's the way how you can build. With the next level, if it makes sense to you. I hope you liked. Any questions? Any feedback? So far? Thank you very much, Michael, for the feedback. Thank you. Chibudam, I'm happy you liked it. Adinka, great, you liked it. Perfect, any questions over here? Otherwise, I'm going to jump to the next slide. I am on time today, which is very interesting. I'm mostly not really on time, but today I'm really perfectly on time. Because I planned like 3 hours and we are like 2:44, which is perfect. Thank you, Femudella. I hope you liked it. This module on self-development was amazing. Oh, great. Thank you, appreciate your feedback. Thank you, Admire. Recorded video will be available for a while on this group, Deji. Okay, I'm not done yet. Now, with your permission, okay, so I talked for you for about 2 hours, 45 minutes, but this is only, thank you very much for your feedback, okay, this is only to how you get started, okay. I will very briefly, spend like 5 to 10 minutes to explain you about our masterclass bundle offer, okay. This bundle offer is very interesting because it contains the next level of what you learned here. It contains, Scrum and the next level of, Scrum and Agile frameworks, which is DevOps, and also Kanban, which is basically, as I mentioned in multiple places on my presentation, Kanban is basically on the roots of Scrum, okay? And therefore, understanding Scrum, Kanban, and DevOps, goes, hand to hand. They are not really independent processes. And therefore, today, I prepared an offer for you, which combines, thank you very much for everyone. I will later also say welcome each and every one of you, but let me continue for now. So I'm going to basically present you an offer which combines Scrum, DevOps, and Kanban with associated certifications and also training materials. A very affordable offer. I'm sure you like it. Basically, many people have done this offer. This is one of the bestseller offers that we have built. And today I'm going to present you one more time and also use this recorded session opportunity to give you answers in case you may have seen this offer below, but still you have questions, or if you have some open items in your mind. So let me briefly go through with the offer with you. So basically this offer contains 8 different certifications grouped in Scrum, Agile, Kanban, and DevOps. And all certifications come with shareable and verifiable digital badges. And also, when you have a certification program, you are basically on your own with most of the companies. You register for a certification, but you have no clue how you learn about this. And this is basically how my companies differentiate from this pool of big giant certification market, because they sell certifications. And this is not what only do. I basically sell packages which also help people to learn their crafts, okay? And therefore, when you enroll these programs, you'll also get the training materials to combine the certifications, a number of books, a number of audiobooks, a number of recorded audio trainings. Let me walk through with you one by one. So basically, the first one is a Scrum Master, normally list price. If you want this from my website and want to purchase today, you pay 69. Scrum Product Owner 99. Scaled Scrum 149. Agile Coach 199. Kanban Expert 99. Kanban Project Manager 199. DevOps Generalist Certification 99. DevOps Project Manager 199. And again, as I said, all shareable and verifiable digital badges are included. And then the books, the Scrum book, the Kanban book, the DevOps book, and then the audio books. In case you travel quite a lot, then you can basically download the MP3 file to your mobile device or to your iPad, and then listen to them on the fly. Scrum and Kanban audio books. And we have very comprehensive video trainings about DevOps. This training is about 20 to 30 hours, if I'm not wrong, at least 20 hours in DevOps training. We have recorded interactive DevOps classes, and then 10 hours of DevOps Scrum and Kanban training, and also a bonus training, which is basically Scrum, Kanban, and DevOps leadership. All this package, if you want to buy them today, normally their cost is 1,997. But with the Scrum Masterclass bundle, the price is 249 if you register today. And I also write you the link of the bundle so you can go and check this later. But only don't forget that it's the limited time offer, okay? And this is really a bargain offer right now. Therefore, we will adjust the price very soon. Therefore, if you are interested, please feel free to take action as promptly as you can. Okay, I typed the link correctly. So that's the offer. That's precisely what I wanted to present. Again, as I said, the big certification market is again a big pond with a lot of providers, and you are on your own, okay? If you go and register with a competitor, you are on your own, okay? And but again, with us, you will be provided with all this material, all this, competent, consultancy. When you send the email to us, you don't get a reply from a call center agent. You get a reply from a trained professional who knows all these subjects. Therefore, we guide you on this process, and you won't be on your own thanks to these books, audiobooks, and video training materials. Okay, Mute asked a question: if I have the Scrum Master and Scaled Scrum Expert, does it make a difference? So basically, if you possess these programs, basically, this is a good reminder, by the way. Thank you very much for asking this question, Okimute. I know some of you are already our students anyway, and therefore, if you possess one or few of these programs already, okay, in your toolbox, after registration, the masterclass bundle, please send me an email and then say, hey, Erkan, I already possess Scrum Master or Scaled Scrum or Agile Coach, whatever, and then tell me via which program I can substitute them for you, okay? And then let's say if you already got Scrum Master, then I will substitute Scrum Master certification with another program of your choice from our portfolio of products. So this is the way we handle if you possess one or few of these certifications already. Kessington said, please can you summarize the intersection point as regards to Scrum? I understand subject, a good example. Kessington, the idea was simply, if you are knowledgeable in a certain area, in one certain area, you are basically a commodity in that certain area, okay? You are one of many, and if you even get a job offer, you can't negotiate because they can, simply withdraw your offer and then choose someone else. And the idea is learning other skills and then establishing yourself as an expert on the other skills, so that the intersection points in these two different, subject matter expertises, you become unique, okay? This will be your unique selling proposition in your market. That's the idea. Most welcome, Okimute. After your registration, simply let us know and we will do this swap for you. Any more questions about the offer? Otherwise, I am getting done and perfectly on time, which doesn't happen always. It's a good day. Any more? Hey guys, I'm talking 3 hours, hey! Some of them are self-study materials, that's right. And also there are some interactive classes as well, Okimute. Oh, Emmanuel, it's great you are here. We met personally, right? I remember, yeah. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for joining. Perfect, Najib already registered, wonderful. I'm glad that you are enjoying this, Najib. And also I'm glad that you are here today. Yeah, preparation is simple, Najib. Simply focus on the material, go through them until they become clear, maybe multiple times if needed. Then you will be not only prepared to pass the exams, but also an effective professional in your area. Oh, you both already registered. Wonderful, perfect. Emmanuel, you've been an influence on my career. Wow, I'm humbled. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your feedback, Emmanuel. Okie dokie, thank you very much, Rodney, as well. Appreciate your contribution today. Then, yeah, that's the offer. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions about the offer, about or anything else we discussed today, feel free to type in the comments of this video. And also, if you believe you have friends, family members who can enjoy this session, feel free to invite them to this group, and then we approve their application in a few days at most, and then they can watch the recording on the group. Thank you very much, Pascal. Thank you very much for the feedback, Ulari. Preparation for the certification, the Scrum Master advice is admire. Simply go through the ebook, audiobook, and also the masterclass, 10-hour masterclass videos. We have done a masterclass for about 5-day masterclass I have done last year. All recordings are available to the students. Feel free to walk through the material, then you'll be good to go. Perfect. Good, then I'm closing the session. Appreciate your contribution. Again, as I said, feel free to invite your friends to this group who you think can benefit from this video. And in case you have questions about the session, about the offer, feel free to comment on the video. The offer expires today. If you are interested, please feel free to take action as promptly as you can before we switch the page off. The link is again scruminstitute.org/now, all small letters. For now, take care, have a nice day. I'm closing the session now. Bye-bye.